Hey YouTube, welcome back to the shop. Tonight we're working on the 74 Bronco. So I've got it up on the lift. I got the tires pulled off. I'm gonna get going on the steering. So we're doing a GM 1-ton tie rod crossover steering and also doing a tie rod flip. Instead of the tie rod being coming into the bottom of the knuckle, it's gonna go into the top of the knuckle. So that's gonna require us to ream the knuckles from the top. They would have to be reamed anyway to run the GM tie rod end, because the GM tie rod end's a bigger diameter. So kind of kill two birds with one stone, ream them from the top. That'll allow us to do our tie rod flip and allow us to run the bigger tie rods. And then once the steering is all in place, I've also got sort of a DIY front disc brake kit for these, using similar model year F-150 rotors, machining the stock spindles, and a GM style like K10, K5 brake caliper. And that should all work out really well. Again, keeping with the budget theme, the disc brake kits that I was looking at were a few $100. I've got like $130 in 2 calipers and 2 rotors, a little bit of machining on the spindle to fit the rotor, and we should be good to go. So stick around and we'll get this all torn apart. Got it all completely disassembled. Both knuckles are off, axle shafts are out. So the next step is going to be get the old ball joints out of here. Once the old ball joints are out, I'll go ahead and set them up in the mill, and I will ream the tie rod ends, or the tie rod hole, a little bit bigger, and I'm going to be reaming it from the top side to do a tie rod flip. But it's got to be made a little bit bigger to go to the GM 1-ton tie rod ends. Same for the other knuckle, and then same for the pitman arm as well. And then once those are all reamed, I've got new upper and lower ball joints and new U-joints for the axles. And then all of our hub components all look like they're in really good shape. I do have new lockouts in a box. And then I've also got new wheel bearings and seals for those. So stick around, we'll get this done. to this video, but we've been working on it and I've been taking some time lapses as we go. So if you look here, I've got all the knuckles are reamed, got our tie rod and drag link in place, new ball joints and everything are on. And then I'm just in the process now of changing the U-joints in the front axles. Then I'll slide these back in. I will slide the spindles back on. And then I can go ahead and paint everything you see here. And then while the paint's drying, I will work on the hubs and the caliper brackets and get all that squared away, and then final assembly after that. Stay tuned. You probably don't catch it on the time lapse, but when I went to go put my axle shafts back in, the new lower ball joints, the stud is too long. So I'm gonna have to trim that down, maybe even get a short, like a jam nut basically, and lower that stud a little bit. So it's not allowing me to get this all the way in because it's hitting. But aside from that, everything's done. New U-joints are in. The steering's all done. I just have that one side disconnected so I could move the knuckle around a little bit, trying to get the axle shaft in. Driver's side is doing the same thing. That stud sticking out too far, interfering with the U-joint on the axle shaft. I just want to show you guys where we're at. So I've got everything's all partially assembled. I left all the boots off and everything, taped everything, painted it real quick. So everything is there. I just got to basically knock these off, slip the boot in, put my grease nipple, grease them, tighten everything, torque down all my jam nuts. What ended up happening with the ball joints, so I had ordered ball joints just from Rock Auto, and the Rock Auto ball joints were wrong. They flat out didn't work. So the entire knuckle assembly was actually down a little bit too far with the ball joints from Rock Auto. And so I could never get this axle shaft in, no matter how hard I tried. And so I ended up getting some new ones from Jeff's Bronco parts. They worked out perfect. As you can see, the axle shaft, spindles, everything are all in. So I'll just set up a quick time lapse and I'll get all the rest of the front end all buttoned up, jam nuts on, cotter pins in, greased, and then we'll call the suspension done. And on the next video, it'll be our budget disc brake conversion, so stay tuned. Got everything all buttoned up, cotter pins in, everything's tightened down. Off camera, I did just a quick rough alignment. All I did for that is I just clamped a straight edge along this face on each spindle, measured side to side, gave myself about 1/8 of an inch of toe in. But there it is, all wrapped up. Grease nipples are in, rubber boots are on, jam nuts are all tight. I greased everything, cotter pins all in place. So I would basically call that 100% done, other than a final alignment. So just to run through this a little bit, so this is a GM 3/4 and 1 ton tie rod. I think they might have even used these on half-ton trucks, but I mean the common name that everybody uses is their GM 1 ton tie rod ends. So these are 7/8 fine thread, some 7/8 threaded inserts that I bought. I just bought these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for where to get these. I'll also put a list for all the part numbers from Rock Auto that I used for all the tie rod ends. This is 1-inch Schedule 80 pipe. It was almost a perfect. I had to bore it just slightly for the threaded inserts. And then the only other thing would be this. So this is a Jeep TJ, stock Jeep TJ pitman arm. So it's a little bit shorter than the stock Bronco one. But I had manual steering, so it's a little bit shorter than the manual steering tie rod end from the stock Bronco. and then it has about a 1-inch drop. So here, I'll actually grab. So there's the stock Bronco one, so you can see it's about a 1-inch drop, and it's about an inch shorter. So no guarantee that I'm going to keep this, but I think this should work out a little bit better as it's power steering. It shouldn't need as long of a pitman arm. And the 1-inch drop, if you come to the front, our track bar and our drag link are very, very close to the same angle. Really close. I know there's no weight on it right now, but they should travel in parallel as they go up. That angle should stay pretty close. So that's gonna wrap this one up. Next video will be on the disc brakes and the hub assembly and everything. So stick around. If you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks.